week, I was in a slump. I was feeling so unmotivated. I was feeling discouraged. I was not feeling like my best self. And I am the type of person, as many people are, who finds myself going in and out of slumps where I have a really high highs and then I go into a little bit of a dip and have low lows. Now, with that being said, I have experienced many slumps in my life and I've learned the best way and the quickest way to get out of a slump and get back to feeling refreshed, feeling motivated, feeling happy, and just being the best version of me. And I do not gatekeep, so I am here to share all of my tips with you about how to get out of a slump and feel like the best version of you. I'm Madison Haynes, and I'm the host of the Get Up and Glow podcast. And in today's episode, we are switching things up. Usually on the Get Up and Glow podcast, we talk about all things to do with glow up, and I know that is both physically and mentally as well. But today, we are talking about slumps because growth is not linear. There's going to be many times in our lives where we feel like we are in a slump, where we are making so much progress and we're working out, or we're waking up early every single day, or we're doing our hair every single day, and we feel like the most beautiful, smart, authentic version of ourselves. And then something happens. Sometimes not even an event happens. It's just you wake up and you feel it. You are in a slump. You feel unmotivated. You feel unhappy. You feel discouraged. You feel anxious. Whatever that feeling is for you, I relate. And I have been through it many, many times. With that being said, like I said in the intro, I have found the best tips to get yourself out of a slump in the fastest, most effective way possible. That's also prioritizing your mental health. So if you're ready to get re-inspired and just find that love for life again, or just have the tips, if maybe you're not in a slump right now and you're thriving, amazing. That is like the ideal. That being said, we all enter slumps, so these tips are great for you to stick around for. First and foremost, thank you so much to all of my new listeners. The podcast is truly growing so much, and I am so excited. Every single morning when I see there's like a new subscriber, etc., I jump for joy. It's like the best way to start the day. I literally start my day with you guys. So with that being said, if you are not following our TikTok, please do. It is at the Get Up and Glow podcast _. First and foremost, if you are watching on YouTube, please pause this video and take one moment to subscribe. It would make my day, and hopefully it would make yours as well, because every other Sunday I come out with glow up content to help you feel like the best version of you. And if you like my personality, follow me on my personal account, because honestly, the premise of this podcast is to create a community of the girls that get it. And everyone who follows me on TikTok, which is at the Get Up and Glow podcast _, they are so amazing, truly. And I want to be friends with these girls. Like, they are so gorgeous and happy. They're thriving. And I look at these women who follow me and I'm like, wow, the community is just truly great. With that being said, I would love if you guys would follow me on my personal account, which is Madison, Madison, Haynes, which would be great. DM me. Let me know that you came here. We are a bunch of friends over on this side of the internet. So if you are looking for a new bestie, DM me. Be like, hey, you said we were friends. So friends DM each other. Tell me that you came from the podcast. I will follow you back and hype you up. The girls that get it. The best way to just follow a sustainable glow up journey into your healing era, just learning how to continually thrive throughout your life, is having a strong group of female friendships that genuinely root for you and they want to see you succeed, and I want that for you. So if you go ahead and follow me, I will follow you back. We can hype each other up, create a little positive environment on this side of the internet. With that being said, let's get into this podcast. Okay, so I always like to start off these episodes by saying 3 things that are out and in for me, just so I can connect with you guys and you guys get to know me a little bit better before I dive into these amazing tips. Okay, so 3 things that are out. Number 1, being sick. This is what led me to create this episode, because I was sick for over a week and a half, like completely bedridden, could not move, and I felt like I lost all of my progress. I was working out. I felt like I was thriving. I felt like I was being the best version of myself and having great routines. I was starting to wake up earlier too, which is like amazing for me. And then bam, it hit me. And I was so sick. I was taken out and I couldn't do anything. And like, I'm so over it. Thank goodness I feel better now. Another thing that's out is expecting more of myself than what I'm currently capable of. This is something that I struggle with. I always want to be like the best version of myself and, achieve a standard of perfection, which quite literally does not exist. I need to chill. And I know the premise of this podcast is like to be the best version of you, but also sustainably. And that's something I want to emphasize. And that's the whole reason why I'm out here giving you girlies these tips. It's because like as a perfectionist, I understand the struggle and the feeling of being so discouraged when you can't reach those goals. And that is out. Let's like, instead of like setting these amazing but completely unattainable goals, I have learned to kind of dial it back and take small steps to progress. And I also have learned that progress is not linear. And that's what we're all about on the side of the internet. And that for me is out because I was struggling with that quite a lot last week. And finally, the thing that is out is thinking I lost progress during my slumps. I was in a slump while being sick and like a few other things going on in my life kind of just like collaborated to like make me in an unwell era. With that being said, it's easy when you're in that headspace to think that I'm not good enough. Everything I worked for was for nothing. I'm going to lose all my progress. I'm going to lose my progress at the gym. I am going to fall out of my routines. I'm not going to be able to get back to them. And like you think that you as a person are whatever moment you are in. But that is so untrue. And once you get out of that slump, you realize, oh my goodness, I just was having like a rough few weeks. It wasn't me, everyone hating me or whatever. It was just that moment. So feeling like you've lost everything you've worked for just because of a few bad weeks or one person saying something to you, what's that? That's out. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, what is in? Going back to being sick, hopefully you guys can't hear my voice. Like if it's raspy, just ignore it, please. But going back to what is in is not feeling bad about taking days in bed. Regardless if it's like a sick day in bed, some days you just need to call it. I've talked about this before where you just need to say, I need rest. I need to prioritize taking care of myself. And in order to do that, I need to do like the ultimate form of self-care, whatever that is for you. For me is going into bed, watching a movie, and maybe ordering some Uber Eats. And honestly, that is in. Like taking care of yourself sometimes looks different than what you see online. Sometimes taking care of yourself is eating healthy, working out, getting up early, and doing your hair before work so you feel gorgeous. And then sometimes taking care of yourself is putting on unmatching but really comfy pajamas, getting into your bed, and turning on a Netflix TV series and just enjoying it and being in the moment, or a comfort film. Like that is also self-care, and that is in. Also, another thing that's in is resets. Because I'm out of my slump now, I have been super into just like resetting, especially in terms of like my space, like cleaning up, like doing my hair, like doing my like that girl shower. I am into the resets right now. And finally, update. I think I'm entering my gym girl era. Back in like a long time ago in grade 12, I was super into fitness. And then as I got busier into my adult life, like to be honest, I've let that go. But as you girlies know, I recently have a Good Life membership, and I did it for like the Zumba and like fitness classes. But recently I've been lifting weights, and the way I have seen so much more results by lifting weights than I have from like years of like cardio. It's really motivating. So yes, I'm still doing like my Zumba, my Pilates, etc. because I love it. But I've also been incorporating a lot of like weightlifting as well into my daily workouts. And because of so, I've entered into like my protein era where I'm like trying to eat more protein in my diet, which is wild for me. Like, who am I? But I mean, it might be just a phase, so we shall see. I will update you, but right now I'm loving it. Okay, so enough about me. Let's get into the reason why you came here, and I'm gonna share with you my tips for getting out of a slump. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about what leads somebody to a slump. There can be many different things that lead someone to a slump, and I would like to note that I'm not talking about like a depressive episode where something like really traumatic happens, or if you have a really, you struggle with your mental health. I'm not talking about that. I'm more so just talking about the moments when, like if you're, for instance, like I struggle with anxiety, and sometimes that leads me to overthink, and I find that like that combined with my obsession with perfection can sometimes lead me to burnout very often, where I go through a slump. I come back out of it, I feel great, I'm thriving, I have healthy habits, but then I take it one step further, I add more things onto my plate, maybe something happens that is not out of the plan, or someone says something to me that I get upset about, or I'm not able to meet a certain standard of like a goal that I set for myself, etc., and it leads me back into my slump. But sometimes I'm not like right there, but I'm on the cusp of it, if that makes sense, and you know what I'm talking about when you feel like, oh my goodness, I am stressed, I'm starting to feel burnt out. My biggest tip is, if you can, don't wait for yourself to like completely go down and feel like you're, oh my goodness, I'm officially in a slump. Once you like catch yourself when you start feeling like you're about to go down, if that makes sense. And what I do is when I'm feeling like I'm at the tip, where I'm like, okay, I'm at my tipping point. I feel super burnt out. If I push myself anymore, like it's just not going to be good for me. I will take what I call a Maddie's night off. So what is a night off? For me, it is doing the minimum like of the things I need to get done in a day to be an adult. So like go to work, etc., feed myself, etc. But then all the other things that like are not necessities, like deep cleaning, like cleaning the bathtub or going to the gym, or in some cases like canceling plans with friends. Like I will put away with all of that and just dedicate that whole night or whatever amount of time I have to me. So I'm the type of person who will literally time block my own like free time. Like, okay, I'm going to swim and then I'm going to go do my nails. I don't do any of that. I just take a second, just sit back into my body, figure out what I want to do in that moment. Most often, I just need to rest. Sometimes I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to a podcast. Whatever feels good in that moment that's what I'll do. And I find sometimes if I catch myself like right at that peak, that is enough to prevent a slump, which is of course like the most ideal situation. So if you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, take the night off or the evening or the day, whatever you can. Take time for yourself and just listen to your body. Take a step back. Try to step back into your feminine energy, which sounds absurd, I know, but genuinely I think like when we were in our masculine and we're overworking ourselves, like that is what leads to burnout. So taking a step back and like maybe dancing or doing whatever it makes you feel like a princess, like a queen, like whatever, do that. I also make time to sit in my emotions. Like I know a lot of people, and it's like an unpopular opinion, they're just like, just take a walk or take a bubble bath. Everything's going to be okay. But I don't necessarily think that always works, especially if you were struggling with one topic that is sending you into a slump. I am a huge fan of self-reflection, and I think you should start doing that. I think you should do it every day. Don't over self-reflect to the point where you're obsessing about what everyone's saying about you and like how you are as a person. But in terms of like when you feel something is off or when you feel something is good, whatever, your emotions, pay attention to those and recognize like what made you feel whatever emotion you're experiencing. And that can be good because then you realize like what makes you happy and what you should do more of. And then you also honor yourself that like you're so proud of yourself, etc. But when you're in a moment where you feel discouraged, note that and let like yourself sit in those emotions, because sometimes I think like just trying to heal right away is not going to be effective. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm really, really upset about this, I'm just going to journal it all away. It does not work like that in my opinion. Sometimes you need, and hence like taking that night off, just a night to be sad. It's kind of like when you go through a breakup. My mom used to always tell me when I'd go through breakups, take the night to cry it all out, like be hysterical, whatever. The next day you wake up and you start to like journal, and then that's when you start to try to heal. I mean, of course, like with a breakup, like it could be severe. Like you might need more than one day. This was way back in the day when I was very young and they weren't that deep. With that being said, sometimes you just need to sit in your emotions, let yourself feel them. That is healthy, but then know when it is time to try and enter your healing journey. So after you've sat in the emotions, you felt them, you honored them, how do you go and heal? For me, it is journaling. It could be even just like self-reflection in your own mind. It could just be speaking it out with a friend that you really trust. It could be talking to a therapist, whatever that be. If like your particular slump is like that bad where you're like obsessing and spiraling over thoughts, as mine was a few weeks ago, that is what I did. I honestly, the thing that like set me into like my healing era was going on the balcony, and I just took like an hour and just like brain dumped onto a notepad, and then I ripped it up, and then I was able to kind of start getting over it. With me, like when I journal, I feel better for like maybe an hour and then it comes back again. But something that helps me, and hopefully will help you, is whatever thought you are experiencing that is negative, and it's probably reoccurring because everyone has their own insecurities. When that thought comes into your head, push it out. Do not let yourself think about it. So when I will think about, I'm just going to give an example, like thought A that you consistently think about, you're obsessive about, whatever. When thought A comes into your head, stop it and say, I'm not going to think about that. focus on stopping those thoughts as soon as they pop into your head. And instead of affirming or giving yourself that time to think those reoccurring emotions, stop that and say something else that's the opposite. For instance, if you think, oh, I'm so bad at everything, I am not good enough, stop yourself and say, no, I'm not going to give myself time to think about that because I am good enough, I am smart, and I'm capable of doing anything. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but and of course, it's going back to letting yourself sit in the emotions is important. But once you're out of that, sometimes the easiest way to get over that is just almost cognitive behavior therapy, which is what this kind of is just stopping those thoughts as they come through. Do not affirm them, do not give in to them. Instead, have really good affirmations that counteract whatever negative thought that you are thinking. And for me, that is a good way of training my brain to not let those obsessive, intrusive thoughts win. If you are in a moment, however, where you're doing all these practices, you let yourself sit in your emotions, you journaled, you are trying to push out those thoughts, but you still feel like crap, that is okay. And what I usually then do when usually at that point, I'm I am in a slump. I do not want to do my routines. I do not want to work out. I do not want to get dressed. What am I going to do? For me, it is doing my self-care routines to an extent where I will go and watch a comfort movie. For me, it's Devil Wears Prada, it's Bride Wars, etc., Couples Retreat, which is on Netflix if you're from Canada. I will rewatch those movies, and seeing those characters, revisiting with them, brings me a sense of comfort. Sometimes it's enough to re-inspire me, because a lot of my favorite movies are the girly 2000s movies where they often have a cute marketing job and they wear their cute outfits, and I'm oh, I can be like this. And often a lot of those times in the movies, they go through a little bit of a dip as well, where they are working towards something and then it goes terribly wrong. They feel the worst person ever, the biggest failure, but then it leads them to their success or their destiny or whatever. Usually movies, the cheesy movies that I love, are set up that way. So seeing something or watching something that is related to the current situation I'm in helps me feel I'm not alone. It helps me know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's an elite form of self-care, truly. Yoga has helped me so much, and I encourage you guys to do it. If you can't go to a yoga class because it is out of your budget or your comfort zone, because if you get anxious maybe going around new people, that is okay. I will go to yoga at my gym, then I also try to incorporate a 5 to 10 minute yoga routine just from a YouTube video every single night. And I find doing that, because it's a guided meditation or a guided whatever, you hear someone telling you what to do, you can focus on them, you can focus on your breath, and that also is a great way to just let go of your thoughts for the day before you sleep, which is going to help you get a good sleep, and a good night's sleep is just going to help your mental health entirely. Okay, so we talked about the slumps and what to do when you're in the thick of it. But now, going back to me saying, sometimes when you feel ready, you want to start trying to get out of it, these are the things that I do to feel I am re-inspired, to re-motivate myself and get me back to my thriving normal self. These tips are also just good to just regularly do to avoid slumps, or even if you're not in a slump and you're just I think I can motivate myself more. I think I can, I feel good, but I don't feel that inspired. Let's say if you are in a creative job or you want to become a content creator and you just feel you're in a slump in that way, not a mental health slump, but you're just in a creative block. These tips will also help you with that. It essentially is going to re-inspire you to find that love for life again and love yourself and just enjoy the world that we are in. Okay, I know we've all heard this before, but exercise, and it is so true. The times where I'm just oh, I don't know, I'm kind of just feeling doing nothing again today, but then I'm you know what? No, I don't want to give in to that, because there's a difference between giving in when you need to and giving in out of laziness. So if I'm in the moment where I'm no, this is me being lazy, it's not me being burnt out or actually needing the rest, it's just me not wanting to do anything, I will go and just work out. And the way I feel when I'm driving home after my workout is unreal. It gives me so much energy. It makes me feel so good about myself. And even in the days where I have the bad mental health days and I go to the gym, even if it's you're not in the mood to just run on a treadmill or go on the stair climber, even just doing those exercises where you sit down and they're glute exercises or leg exercises, you will feel so much better. And I'm not saying you need to work out to be skinnier or get abs. Don't make that your priority. Just work out to feel healthier, even mentally. So if you're someone who struggles with any type of mental health related issue or disorder, or just in general, like where you like are in your head a lot, like you have those obsessive intrusive thoughts, try working out. I can't say I promise you, so I don't want to make a claim. With that being said, like I am almost certain that you will feel better or have more mental clarity after a good workout, so much so that next time you feel like those obsessive thoughts coming through, you're going to want to go work out. It is like one of my favorite forms of self-care now, because the way it like completely transforms the way I view myself, the way my mind works, it is unreal. If you don't also, disclaimer, if you don't have a gym membership, you know on this side of the podcast, I'm all about sustainable tips in terms of money. Go on a hawk or a walk, do a YouTube video workout. There's so many different types of exercise you can do. You can go swimming, you can join a softball league, like you can join a burlesque dance class like I do, etc. Like whatever is like the path of least resistance that is going to get your body moving, do that. Okay. Another huge tip to just like essentially get remotivated, feel inspired, and get back to like that best version of you, or the version of you that feels like you, is getting out of the house. As a girl who works from home, I know the struggle about forcing yourself out, especially when like you don't have someone to go hang out with. Like I moved to the city, and other than my boyfriend, like no one is here. So unless I want to drive out an hour, whichever way, to see a friend or have them come up to see me, I'm in it for myself out here, especially during the weekdays. But like falling into the slump of like not getting out, it's just not good for us. We should be getting outside of the house at least once a day for a walk of some sort. With that being said, I think getting outside and doing things like going to coffee shops, maybe going to the mall, etc., is a great way to get re-inspired. Do things solo as well. Like when you get out of the house, I think it can be really healing, and it's a good way to practice just like self-care and rebuild your confidence, is going on solo dates. It doesn't have to be scary. I have not yet worked myself up to going to the movies alone, although that is on my bucket list for this year. But even going to a local Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop, bringing a book, drinking a coffee, and just being there. I, like I said before, struggle with anxiety. So when I do that, for instance, I went out for a lunch date like a month back, and I found the majority of the time I was there, I was like, felt myself getting anxious. I felt myself looking around to see if people were looking at me. They were not. And then after I settled down and realized like it is not a big deal. Like adults especially go out often on their own all the time. They go to dentist appointments and then get lunch, or they're in the city for business. Like maybe they're a real estate agent, whatever. And then they go get dinner alone. Like people don't care like that you are alone. They're not even looking at you half the time. Then I found myself like once I realized that, I was able to like eat the rest of my food and be like, wow. And I came out of there. And I know people would be like, that's crazy that you're gonna go spend money to purposely be alone and make yourself uncomfortable. But the way that I grow from that every time I do a solo date is so beneficial. I feel more confident. Next time I go out and eat lunch, like I'm able to eat lunch alone now, no problem, and I feel like the best version of me, and I love it too, because sometimes like you're out and you like pay money for a really good meal, and you're out with like talking to your friends or whatever, and you can't really focus on like the flavors, you know what I mean? Like you're just like focusing on that conversation so much, you forget to like pay attention to the ambiance, pay attention to like the food you're eating, etc. And sometimes when I go to like a really nice lunch spot like Panera, I know it's like not bougie, but like you know what I mean? Like I just like to sit and be calm and go into my feminine energy and enjoy the apple Fuji salad I'm eating and just be peaceful. So my big tip for you is to try out solo dates. If you're someone who struggles with social anxiety in general, being on your own is so important. It's a great skill to learn in your 20s. It's something you should learn in your 20s. So make it a goal for yourself once a month to do some form of solo date. You can start slow. It could even just be like going into Starbucks and getting a coffee and leaving. If you're really, really like bad with social anxiety. And the next time you go, maybe sit down for like 10 minutes and drink your coffee on your phone. And then you could work your way up to doing the more scary things like going to a movie or eating dinner alone, like at a restaurant with a waiter. Even like just getting Starbucks, going to HomeSense, etc. It can be so healing. Don't wait to do things like if you want to do something and no one else wants to do it, like don't do the things you want to do just because no one else is there in the moment to be able to experience that with you. Like don't let that stop you. Like have your eat, pray, love moment. Like there's a reason why that movie is so good. Like she is out on her own, like traveling the world solo, and she's growing and healing from that. So if you are hearing this and you're like, that sounds ludicrous, watch Eat, Pray, Love. Come back and then tell me. Just try it out. Okay, another thing I think everyone should do to prevent slumps, to prevent burnout, to get re-inspired, just feel like the best version of you, is have hobbies. Specifically creative hobbies. Things like needle pointing, like painting, like sketching, like drawing. Like you could even get like an adult coloring book and color like in the lines or whatever. Like whatever feels good to you. You don't have to be good at it. You can literally get a dollar on a canvas and just like throw paint on it. And like that can feel really good in the moment. I'm a big painter, and some days when I'm just like, I just need to shut out the world, I won't follow like a little painting tutorial. I'll just like go take paint and like slam it on the canvas and whatever comes to mind, and it ends up looking crazy, but it feels so good in the moment. Or even like finger painting. I know that sounds wild, but sometimes just immersing yourself into a hobby, especially a creative one, you just like can let out your feelings, and then at the end you just feel so good. With that being said, like you don't have to do a creative hobby too. You can do things like horseback riding, like swimming, etc., whatever you like. That is a great way to meet people, to get re-inspired, to get out of the world and realize there's more to life than just working a 9 to 5, eating dinner, watching a show, and sleeping at night. Like there is so much more in the world for you to discover, and you do not need money to do that. So many free activities you can do. You can even search up free activities in your area. Like get out in the world, get inspired, do things that are different from your routine, and that's gonna help you feel like you're not in a slump and feel like you're like there's more to life, you know? And that is what we're after. Like we have so many opportunities in life. Like right now, you are probably, because I know my demographic is like they're like middle 20s. Yes, I work like for me. Yes, I work a 9 to 5, and this is my life I've chosen for myself. Am I going to get married and buy a house? Yeah, probably. That being said, there is nothing stopping me from saying, I don't want this life, and going in with Zach and getting a remote, I have a remote job, he getting a remote job, and we move out to the Netherlands for 6 months, you know, or we sell the condo and we go somewhere else. Like there is nothing stopping you. It could be as simple as like switching up your daily lunch from like the same salad you eat to something that like you love that's going to make you happy. Like there is nothing stopping you from doing anything, to cutting your hair, to dyeing it a different color, to changing your style completely. Like don't let other people's opinions stop you from living the life you want. Like we have a life filled with opportunity in our 20s for the most part. We do not have kids yet. If you have children, like that's very different, or if you have a mortgage, it's also a little bit difficult. But regardless of whatever situation you're in, there's other opportunities and other choices you could make that might be scary, but it could lead you to a completely different life. And for me, I like to play it safe, but in terms of like the little aspects of my life, I try to take a little bit more risk and just have fun with it, just because I know it's not that serious, and I am enjoying my mid-20 era with like being childless, dual income because like my boyfriend and I, etc., and just like having the time to figure it all out. Like you don't need to know everything about yourself right now in your 20s. Your 20s are for exploring. Your 20s are for having fun. Your 20s are going to be the time that you look back on and you're like, oh yeah, I remember the good old days when like I could go and, you know, after work and do whatever I wanted. You know, we're in the good old days right now. So start living like that. Remind yourself, and like regardless of your age, like you are in the good old days, because at one point in your life in the future, you're going to look back on where you are right now and be like, I was in the good old days, you know? So always remember that, and like use that to your advantage. Okay, this tip, I feel like no one talks about it, but it is so great. Okay, it can be, I know I talk about trying to make like financial like choices, or make my tips I try to make sustainable for anyone. This one is a little bit more expensive, but it is booking a night at a hotel and not going with anyone. If you are a little uncomfortable, or if you're younger, like book it with a friend, and that could be really fun too. But if you're in a moment where you're just like, I just need to escape, like this, my life feels so routine, I feel like I'm doing the same thing all the time, like I've done all these tips and I've heard them before and I've tried them before and I still don't feel inspired and I still feel like I'm in a slump, book a hotel for one night. It could be on a work night, but I'd recommend doing it on like a Saturday, because then you have the whole day, etc. And do these things, okay? Depending on like what type of hotel you stay at, like they might have this included, but if like I'm just gonna include these tips for everyone. Bring a bathrobe. Make sure your room has a bath if you are a bath taking girly. Bring your cute bubble baths. Bring some candles, okay? Bring your favorite snacks. Make sure you have a laptop that you can, like an HDMI cable to plug into the TV for like you can stream your favorite movies or your favorite books or whatever hobbies you love to do. Bring that all there. shut off your phone. Like bring your phone for safety reasons, but just don't look at it, and just enjoy. Just feel like you're being pampered. Do a face mask, do like a that girl bath or whatever, like shave your legs, exfoliate, the whole thing. If there's a pool in your hotel, like go enjoy the hot tub, enjoy the pool, go work out. It's like half the time when we're in gyms, do you ever use the hotel? Do you ever use the hotels in the gyms? Hardly ever. Hotels in the gyms. Wait. Okay, let me rephrase that. Okay. We're struggling there for a little bit. With that being said, have you ever used the gym in your hotel? Probably not. With that being said, like take that one night to just enjoy the amenities, to enjoy yourself, to shut out the world. And it is so healing. Like sometimes we just need to get away, and it doesn't need to be far. It could be as easy as driving to your closest hotel that is the cheapest that you can find, that is somewhat nice, and enjoying yourself and just settling and not having to clean a kitchen, not having to cook for yourself, not having to do your laundry. You have no distractions. Nothing from like the real world is bothering you. Shut off your phone and enjoy that like 24 hours. Pro tip: call the concierge and ask for a complimentary late checkout. I do this every time I travel. 99% of the time they'll give it to you, and you can buy yourself an extra hour or two in there and enjoy the entire time. Check in as early as you can and leave as late as possible, and just enjoy it. Even if you're in a relationship, like this is something that can be celebrated too. Like, and I've actually had a comment from someone in my life who noticed that I was going on solo dates, because I'll post about it on my Instagram. Follow me. It's Madison.Haynes, Haynes. And they said, like, I think it's so cool that you go on solo dates even though you are in a relationship. And I'm like, of course, because in order to be in a good, healthy relationship, first, I need to be in a relationship with myself and have a healed relationship with me and like my self-confidence and my self-worth. Because how am I going to find a partner that is like matching my level if I don't even know my own worth? Like I'm going to end up, I don't want to be like dating around and end up with someone who's not my equal. I want to work on myself and continually do that. And it doesn't stop when you find a boyfriend, because you're going to be in a marriage ideally for your whole life once you find that person. If you stop working on yourself at like whatever age you get married, let's say like 26, 27, might be early for some people, but whatever. That is like a whole lifetime of growth you're losing out on. And I don't think that is a good practice. So I think we should always be continually focusing ourselves, growing on ourselves, I think we should be continually growing and evolving throughout our life, because that is how we are going to feel fulfilled at every age. Okay, and the next tip that I have to just feel like you're like feel motivated to prevent being in a slump, or if you're in a slump and you need to get out of it, etc., is book a trip or start saving for a trip. For instance, I'm going to Punta Cana in August, and I'm so excited. And this is something that's been long awaited. And I wanted to be able to save for this trip without having to take away from my other savings plans in terms of like a house, in terms of a wedding, whatever I'm saving for, etc. And I was like, okay, how much is this trip going to cost? How much do I have to save per paycheck to be able to go in a year? If you can't do that, like let's say if it's like $100 or whatever for like a really good trip, either don't go to like a 1 week trip, go on a weekend trip, and then you can go sooner, or maybe push that to 2 years if you want to go on a big trip. Like I prioritize saving for travel. I have a separate account for it because I think it's so important to have something to look forward to. And even if like you're not in the space where like you can't plan a big trip, for instance, I would love to go to Italy. I will go to Italy at one point in my life, positive affirmations. But right now, like I do not have the finances to be able to save for the trip I want, because I want to be able to go and enjoy it when I'm down there. So I'll go for like the all-inclusives that are more sustainable for me in terms of like being able to afford them. If you are at that point yet, completely okay, try to do an Airbnb trip. Like having something to look forward to on your little countdown app on your phone can be so good, because when I'm in the moments of being like, I am so stressed out, or oh my goodness, this is not working out for me, I go and be like, you know what? In like 3 months, I'm going to be on a beach. I'm going to be drinking pina coladas with the love of my life, and we're just going to be dancing and having a great time. And right now, this moment might suck, but in a few months, I'm going to be living my best life. And sometimes that's what I need, to just be like, okay, it's just a moment of like hardship. It's not a bad life. It's just a bad week. In the future, there's good things coming, etc. Okay. So to end off this podcast, I want to make a note that when I was sick recently, like these coping mechanisms I was not able to do because I was ill. So I couldn't do my typical ways to get out of my slump, and I found it so hard. Like I was unwell for quite a little bit there. Like, well, a week and a half is not like a long time for a lot of people, but for me it was, because usually I'm able to either prevent the slump or prevent the episode by like catching it soon. But if I'm already in it or something happens to me, I'm able to get through it like relatively quickly because I've built up these strategies that I've talked about in this episode, and they genuinely work for me, like doing all of them. With that being said, like because I was sick, I was unable to do a lot of them, and I found it really hard. So for me, that is proof that like the strategies I spoke about today work. With that being said as well, I can also note that for people who really suffer from like mental health, with their mental health, or even just like they're in a really tough time, or they're ill like I was, or even worse than me, I can understand how these might just not be like the cure-all. And I'm not here to say, like, this episode is not saying this is the cure to all of your life's problems. This episode is more of advice for when you're in just like a general slump, or when you just feel unmotivated, or you feel like life is becoming routine, how to get out of that and feel like yourself again. So I want to make that very clear. If you're struggling, please go speak to somebody, speak to a therapist or a counselor or someone. Speak out. You are not alone. I care about you. People care about you. Follow me. I reached out, said, I'm having a terrible week. I will talk to you about it. If you have questions for me or that I can help, I mean, I'm not a professional by any means, but if you just want someone who's not going to judge you, who's like, has nothing to do with like your world at all, like, come to me. Like, I'm genuinely being serious. Like, I am like the least judgmental person. Like, come tell me what's going on. I'm going to be like, girl, I can hear you. I'll try to help, but like, I can only do so much, but like, come to me, come to someone, reach out. It's going to be okay. You are doing okay. You will be okay. Good times are coming through, and you are very loved. Okay, with that being said, I hope these tips you find helpful. I hope they help inspire you to live the best life, to feel motivated again, to just breathe life back into your soul. And if you like this podcast, please leave a rating. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I would be so excited, and it would make my day, like truly. Subscribe if you're on YouTube, subscribe if you're on Spotify. I come back. I do this every 2 weeks. If you have a topic that you'd like me to speak on, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. Come back in 2 weeks to hear the next episode of the Get Up and Glow podcast. Please subscribe for more and have an amazing week. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.